Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
2023, you guys, and I'm winging it. Hi, it's Jackie Cation. Welcome to the Dork Forest. That's the website, The Dork Forest, if you like a determiner. Dorkforest.com also works. JackieCation.com has all of my stand-up information. Like, it has videos, it has pictures, it has links to this podcast and to my other podcast with Lori Kilmartin. It has a merch store that has Dork Forest t-shirts. It has all of my stand-up merch and all of my CDs and DVDs. So that's what you know about websites. There's an opportunity because we're in the new year here that you can donate to the Dork Forest. I don't have a Patreon. I don't have anything really set up, though I understand you can set up on PayPal a monthly if you wanted to. You could donate and be of to support the show. This is the 17th season, the 17th year I've been putting this stuff out. It's free, but if you have money and would like to throw me some money, boy, howdy. There's a PayPal. There is at my email address, actually, Jackie@JackieCation.com, which you can also email me and tell me how much you're enjoying the show. You can also do Venmo if you'd like, which is just Jackie Cation. No hyphen, all one word. Picture of this person, me, and then I think that's it. I think I have Zelle, but it's too complicated. Other than that, let's do the credits. Patrick Brady still in, fixing the audio all these years later. Give it up to Patrick Brady. That's what a lot of your donations support, by the way, because I like to share the wealth. And then Bill Mose, he does the websites, and Mike Ruekberg wrote and sang that song, composed and sang that song with his wife now, Sarah. And at the end, he sings the Mexican hat dance, which is always fun. Anyway, I'm sure there's more to it. There's a Bandcamp that has a bunch. It has like a stand-up storytelling album that was never released. There's also a bunch of live episodes that many of them are free. There were 200 episodes that were not pre-recorded, and I sort of culled through those, and I pulled like 17 of the best ones. There's an album collection of that, 17 hours of Dork Forest. If you run through all of the episodes, go to bandcamp.com, Dork Forest, or Google those words, and you'll find it. Anyway, there's probably more. I can't remember any of it, but you're doing great. Feel free to enjoy the show. Oh my gosh. Will Nash, let me just tell you something. It's already begun. Welcome to the Dork Forest.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Will Nash, you guys. By the way, I didn't get any information from you except for that you're a Toronto comic. What is your handle on the interwebs?
So on Instagram, it's The Real Will Nash.
The Real
Will Nash.
I like it.
And then I think it's the same on TikTok as well.
Okay.
And Twitter is Willie Socks, I believe.
Willie Socks.
Yeah.
And is WILLNASH correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
And Willie Socks, is it SOCKS?
It's SOXX.
Willie Socks. Two X's.
Yeah.
WILLIE?
Y. Yes.
Oh, come on, Jackie.
It's all right.
A lot of spelling errors. I got it now. So, welcome to the program. What I like about this fresh, young-faced young man from Toronto, Canada, is that you like Calvin and Hobbes. That's one of your dorkdoms.
Yes, very much so.
It's so weird. I don't think he's making new ones. How did it happen?
So my mom was she worked at a library growing up, and she would bring home a bunch of like cartoon books and stuff like that. And she brought home Revenge of the Babies, the very first one that I got, and I was probably around like 6 or 7.
Oh,
so Bill Watterson had stopped making them at that point, but I immediately fell in love with this little 6-year-old boy and his pet tiger. He's like my favorite.
This is pretty epic. Now, I remember when it was out. and I remember reading it and thinking it had sort of a real, like sort of had a vibe about it where he I don't know who was sarcastic. Was his mother seemed put upon.
Yeah.
His father seemed supportive. I don't remember how the characters went.
Yeah, so there's to kind of break it down, there's I guess like five main characters in Calvin and Hobbes. So the five main characters are obviously Calvin, Hobbes, mom and dad, and then Susie Durkins, his next door neighbor, who's a little girl.
Oh, right, the little
The
girl.
little girl, yeah. And so those are the five most recurring characters throughout the whole entire series. And then you kind of have some more of like the minor characters like Mo the bully. There's Rosaline the babysitter, which is that book. Uh,
Right?
the
Mhm.
babysat. You've got like the principal and the teacher are kind of like the main. Those are like the main cast, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And so,
so is okay, go ahead.
sorry, yeah,
Please.
Calvin's kind of the sarcastic one. He's a bit of a troublemaker, and Hobbes really kind of just bounces off their personality with them. Yeah. So
Right. But Hobbes talks, right? I mean, they have conversations.
yeah, Hobbes talks, but only to Calvin. So
Only everybody else thinks he's a stuffed tiger.
yeah, and so Bill Watterson has a bunch of panels where like he'll walk in on Calvin and Hobbes having a conversation like dad, and then Hobbes is just a stuffed tiger in the last
Hmm.
panel.
Yeah.
So he only talks to Calvin, and that's yeah, it's his imaginary friend. Yeah.
Right. And it makes perfect sense because why would Hobbes wouldn't want to talk to anybody else? He just wants to talk to Calvin.
That's
Did
it.
you ever have an imaginary friend?
Yeah, actually, this dude's Mr. Wolf Wolf. He's my Hobbes, basically. Yeah.
Right, right. I'm gonna need more profile on Wolf Wolf. Can I see Mr.
Okay.
Wolf Wolf? And then
There
turn
we go.
sideways, please.
Turn sideways. Yeah.
Very nice. He's in good shape.
Yeah, he's this is my travel companion. He's been all over the world with me, and he's my he's definitely my Hobbes for sure. So
All right. Well, that
yeah.
I had I still have mine. It's a dog named Laddie.
Aw,
And because I really liked Lassie, the TV show, but I wanted a boy dog for some reason. So I
aw.
named it Laddie.
I like that.
I still don't know to this day where I got that stuffed animal. I think I got it from my stepmother. May never know. May never know.
I'm not
What?
entirely
Where'd you
sure.
get? Where'd you get Mr. Wolf Wolf?
I I got him from my mom, I'm pretty sure. I think when we went to the Science Center in Toronto
Okay. All
in the
right.
gift shop. I think I was like maybe 4 or 5 when I got him. Yeah.
Right. Are there did it draw you to Calvin because of his imaginary friend and because he seemed to have adventures with the animal?
Yeah, definitely. Because like I would play make believe a lot growing up, which was like, hanging out with him. Calvin did a lot of that stuff, but also was like a pretty rowdy rascal, like rascal child. And I put my parents through a lot of the stuff that Calvin had put his parents through, like
Yep.
driving them absolutely nuts off the walls, just getting into stuff that I shouldn't be and stuff. So yeah,
Sure.
like that, and just I mean, I always loved cats. Hobbes was based off of Bill Watterson, the author's and illustrator's cat. I can't remember his name right now, but
Oh, oh, right, because Hobbes is a tiger,
uh-huh.
and so okay, so he is a cat to some extent. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So and some more fun knowledge. Hobbes was named after a philosopher, like a 17th century like
Oh,
philosopher.
yeah, it's Thomas Hobbes. See,
Yes.
I have read Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan
Ooh,
because I have a degree in poli sci.
okay.
It's a little dry. It's a little
Yeah,
dry.
yeah, a little dry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
yeah.
that's definitely Bill Watterson's cup of tea though. Like he was like a big political guy and he loves that dry stuff. Yeah. So
Is he political? Because the Calvin and Hobbes was never felt political.
no, it never was political, but he got into like a lot of political like drawings and stuff like that through his college years.
Hmm.
He was a very political person, like outside of Calvin and Hobbes, which was like really cool.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what his politics were. Did you?
Oh, I didn't get it. I don't really
Right,
know
right.
the.
And I don't want it to be ruined. So
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
let's not go there.
Yeah.
Because I know Thomas Hobbes, he is famous for because he had a different idea of the nature of humanity. It was called
Right.
the nature of man. There
Right.
was John Locke and there was Thomas Hobbes, and they were
Yeah.
Locke was a bit more of an optimist, and Thomas Hobbes was like his famous quote is that life is brutish and short. It is
Yeah.
hard, brutish, and short, something like
Yeah.
that.
I think that's yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Calvinism is John Calvin, right?
And John, yeah, that's exactly it. That's John Calvin. Yeah. He was
And
a
I
16th century
religious.
yeah, religious. Yeah, he was like a pastor and stuff like that. So,
Right. I can't
you know,
remember what I think. I just remember Calvinism being slightly bossy. But you're talking 16th century Christianity. It's going to be
yeah,
bossy.
gonna be bossy. Yeah, for guys and girls. That's right.
just by just by virtue of of him getting any sort of press at all, it's going to be kind of bossy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would imagine so.
But it is interesting that they were named Calvin and Hobbes, and it wasn't political and it wasn't really religious. And
No.
I do remember it was Andy will sometimes talk about Calvin and Hobbes, my
Yeah,
husband,
I know. Yeah,
and he will sometimes say that the mom on Calvin and Hobbes was the greatest victim of injustices. She was always depicted as the bad guy, and it
yeah,
used to bother him when he was a kid. But
yeah.
you had a Calvin and Hobbes T-shirt because Waterston, Water, what was
Well, yeah,
Bill's
Waterson, Bill Waterson. Yeah.
Bill Waterston? He never did merch.
No, he never wanted to license his Calvin and Hobbes because he saw what happened with Garfield and like Peanuts and all, all of those really big super things, and they were
And
just
he
like,
didn't want to buy land.
no,
That's why I think his politics might be kind of cool, because he never fought the fight either, right? Like there's all those stickers of Calvin peeing on
yeah,
things.
peeing on Ford or whatever it is, right? Yeah, those are funny. I have a few of those stickers, but yeah, he never wanted to like license any of his products. There's never been like plushies or toys that are like legitimate like Calvin and Hobbes like merch. And then they only did that like documentary a few years ago, like about like Calvin and Hobbes, but there hasn't really been that much media or anything like that at all. He just wanted it to purely be the art form, which I gotta
Right.
love.
He just wanted a comic strip, and you're
Yeah,
like, okay, so you never wanted a yacht, or you didn't want to go to space.
no,
Good for you, Bill.
yeah,
Kind of great. I did without the benefit of copyright. I sold Calvin and Hobbes T-shirts during college.
oh
Yeah,
damn,
it was actually a nice revenue stream for a while. It was quite nice.
I wouldn't go.
Um, sure. And
Yeah,
I'm sure he would have been very proud of me. He
absolutely.
was like, "Well, as long as it don't pay your rent."
Yeah,
It's kind of why I think that his politics would be kind of fine. And but but you're right. I don't want to look into it.
yeah, no, me neither. He has a special place in my heart, so I don't want to tarnish it with anything.
Right.
I'm
With
ignorance is
facts.
bliss, right? Ignorance
Yes.
is bliss.
Right, right. Let's love the artist and not
Yeah,
even worry, or the art, and let's not
yeah,
worry about the artist for a second. So,
exactly.
do you own most of the collections?
Yeah, so I actually have the whole entire anthology, every single comic
Holy,
that he
put it
ever
out.
wrote from November 85 to December 31st, 1995. That's every single one of them right there.
Hmm.
Which is there's some poetry in there too that he included, like a foreword from Bill Watterson himself. I have a bunch of the books too,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is
Those are more fun for just
yeah.
sitting around, just kind of going,
Yeah,
"Oh,
these are
cute."
definitely like I read these more than I read the like the huge one.
Right,
Yeah,
those are too heavy to some extent, and there's always extra art in those anthology collections that you're like,
yeah,
I wish I cared enough to sit there
and
and
yeah, I've gone through them though.
good. Oh, good.
Yeah, so I have gone through the whole thing. I got that I don't know probably like 7 years ago. It's kind of when it first got released, and then
Yep,
yeah, I've been slowly chipping away at it.
exactly. It's
Yeah,
they're dense.
yeah,
So
decades worth of comics.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
whole decade, 85 to 95.
Right. Right. Which is why I was selling them, because I graduated from college in 88.
Yeah, it would have
So
been right
it
at
would
the
have
start.
been the perfect sweet spot. And
Exactly it.
I think I sold a t-shirt to a guy I had a crush on. He was one of those guys I had a crush on that I just stood next to and never mentioned it.
Oh
And
yeah,
I think
no,
he had a pretty good idea, but he was not interested.
yeah,
So
I'm the same way. If I like you, I might awkwardly stand next to you
and hope you
and
care.
hope you care. Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, or I'll make eyes for like 45 minutes and then
And then
maybe
you will be creeped out. Other people will
exactly,
be
yeah,
slightly uncomfortable. And
slightly
I'm like,
uncomfortable. And I'll be uncomfortable with myself. I'll be like
right.
upset.
Which is why there's no chatter.
No.
And and okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, is there anything? I mean, here's what we're going to do this episode of the Dork Forest. I'm talking with Will Nash, who is at WillieXX on the Twitter and at the real Will Nash on Instagram and the TikTok.
Yeah,
And so, Comic Toronto, and the we're just going to go through like several things that you really like here in the
yeah.
Dork Forest as you wander around. Anything else you want to say about Calvin and Hobbes?
Oh yeah, there's a few things that I would like to talk about
Oh,
Calvin and
yes,
Hobbes
please.
before we go. So Calvin was like he had a huge imagination, and that's why I love Calvin so much, is because I love having a big imagination. I love like Lego, I love seeing the world in a different fun light. So he like some of the fun things that like I got out of Calvin and Hobbes were some of like his creations, I guess. So he would just it would be like a cardboard box and he'd flip it upside down and he'd write like transmorgifier and it just changed something and it all of a sudden he's sitting on a huge elephant in his room and like the room's completely destroyed because he's playing around with it. And he also like he created this thing called Calvin ball, which is
Okay. Oh,
uh, a sport
yep.
that has no rules, and the only rule is that there can't be the same rule twice. The it usually starts off with like him like a lot of like the stuff that he plays it with are like badminton rackets, trees for like goal posts. There's soccer balls, croquets, like a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And it's just like an imagination game where it's like, okay, the point system is Q to 12. Or yeah, and so it's like you have to like run across and hit this, and like I play these games with like my friends, and then we try to like do it ourselves and like make new rules, and just all of a sudden you're 3 hours later you've got this completely changed game that started off with you and your friends passing some like soccer balls around. So
Yeah,
I really Calvin and Hobbes really inspired me for sure. So
that is awesome.
yeah.
Um, I was wondering about there's something that came out after Calvin and Hobbes that I thought was kind of Calvin and Hobbes-esque by a writer, drawer guy, drawer? Artist, I think the
Artist,
word I'm
yes,
looking
yeah,
for.
cartoonist maybe,
Yeah,
cartoonist,
possibly, yes. And
yeah.
named Mike Kunkel, Kunkel, and it's called Hero Bear and the Kid.
That sounds vaguely familiar. I feel like
Yeah,
I've seen it on like a Reddit or something like that.
right. It might have come up, but it was like a 2003 kind of thing, right?
Okay, right.
So, like, here, I'll put it in the chat because we're on Zoom, you guys. Feel free to go to
Nice.
YouTube and watch the magic. Hero Bear and the Kid is
Oh,
about he's a polar
yes,
bear. He's a
I've
stuffed polar
seen that.
bear
Yep,
that turns into a superhero
right.
when no one else is watching, and the kid just kind of hangs out with him.
That's
So,
yeah, it's kind of the same premise.
but what I like about it is that the art has that sort of imagination and that feel to it of just sort of there's a not like a it's not even a kindness because Calvin and Hobbes was snarky as all hell.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Hero Bear and the Kid, I think it was a little more gentle,
Okay,
2003,
yeah, a
and
little more kid friendly because Calvin and
yeah.
Hobbes is very adult. Like I learned a lot of words reading. Like my vocabulary expanded immensely, like reading all of that. Yeah, so
Right. It had a very kind of old school newspaper comic strip vibe to it.
okay,
Because in the newspapers when there were comic strips, they were for everybody. They weren't just for little kids, right?
right,
And
exactly.
so there would be Peanuts that
Yeah,
was for little kids, and then there would be like Andy Cap, which
right.
was something your dad would read,
Yeah,
and then And then there'd be like the grumpy bus driver, which is something your grandma would read. And then there was Mary Worth and the Dan Frontier, not Dan Frontier, but it was like Mary Worth, but it was a guy one and he was in the woods
Oh,
and nothing would happen. It would be three panels,
yeah.
one panel of dialogue, two panels of reaction. See you next Sunday.
See you next.
What the fuck?
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
I was just like, I was like, no, I'm gonna watch Mary Worth, and you're like, you can't,
Yeah.
There's nothing happening. And actually, the Sunday would be in color, and it would be sort
Yep.
of like more like 5 or 6 panels,
Exactly. Yeah.
but the dailies would be 3 panels of
Yeah.
freaking nothing,
Yeah.
and ah! Anyway, but
And,
Calvin and
that's what,
Hobbes.
yeah, he was so good with the 3 panels and the Sunday strip. Like he really tried. Bill Watterson really tried exploring a lot of stuff with the Sunday strip. Like he fought because he got in about 2,400 newspapers worldwide. I think at the top of his game,
Huge.
which is
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
So like he was fighting for like because they were trying to like cut down, they're trying to put more ads in the newspapers and try to cut down and like take away a lot of that space that would go for a Sunday strip, like a Sunday, page, which is
Yep.
like. And so yeah, he loved exploring those Sunday strips, though the color ones are some of my favorites for sure.
They're so beautifully inked. Did he do the inking on it too, or?
Yeah, he did all of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
So, and then I
with
think by like in the 90s, he started because I think the newspaper started going a bit more digital with the
right,
way
he got everybody
yeah,
got kind of screwed.
he got kind of screwed with that. And so then it really brought his like color palette kind of down a little bit because he could only work with what was, given with what the newspaper had to offer.
Yeah.
So yeah, he fought a lot for the Sunday strip because they were really trying to screw him over for it, but he loved it. Like some
Is
of
he
my
s-
yeah.
is he still alive? It's
Yeah,
gotta
he's
be.
still alive.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good,
I
good.
think he's like 60s, 70s, maybe.
He might
So
be 70s because I think he was probably in his 30s in the 80s.
yeah, so
So that was 40 years ago. So that feels 80s.
yeah,
I don't.
70s,
You
80s,
know what we
maybe.
have? What
Yeah,
what ruined his career? The
oh,
internet.
yeah,
We could look him up. Watterson age is he's oh my gosh, he's only 64,
really.
which
Oh,
by the way sounds younger to this one every year. Born in 58.
yeah.
So let's see. I have no idea. So he was in his 20s when he started,
Yeah,
like
he was
mid
in
20s.
mid
And
20s.
yeah,
I
okay.
think yes, because he started just out of college. I think he took it like his first job, I think, was at the American, or the first thing that published Calvin and Hobbes was the American Press Syndicate, I believe.
Okay.
I don't exactly know where it is based in America. I'm Canadian. Please forgive my ignorance.
Uh
Uh,
oh my god, nobody even knows Canada. So
yeah, I know it's
you're a step ahead.
right. Um, but yeah, that's like the first that really I think got him his first pressing was the Universal Press Syndicate. So maybe somewhere in Ohio. I think that's where he went to college. I know that's where he was born. So I'm not.
He got a BA at Kenyon College. I wonder if it was in Kenya. Probably not.
Nah.
It's a private liberal arts college in Gambier, Ohio, and
Oh,
it was
well,
founded in 1824 by Philander Chase.
that's a name.
That is a name. Do you know that philandering
Philander.
means to cheat on your spousal unit? And this dude's name was Philander. But Philander Chase, it sounds like a Quaker name. It
It
sounds
does.
like one of those kind of Quakery.
Yeah, it does sound
Um,
weird.
yeah, 1,000 acre campus. 1,000 acres?
That's pretty big. I mean, that's the size of Winnie the Pooh's woods.
That's 100 acre woods.
Oh, that's 100
Remember?
acres. Oh, yes, that is 100 acres.
That's 10 times.
Yeah,
It's
10
10 times.
times.
Are
Yeah,
you
my
kidding me?
apologies.
Christopher Robin could never find his way home.
No,
So,
my apologies to know that.
oh no, are you
Yeah.
kidding? This accuracy is, someone will always email me.
Yeah.
If I don't find the error or you don't find my error,
Right.
there's always, know in
There's
your heart
always
there's a
something.
ranger out there, a third party
Let's
who's
go,
on board.
Rangers.
Jackie at JackieCation.com. Letting us know. Fun facts about Calvin, fun things about Hobbes.
Yeah.
So he is in his 60s and he is retired and has been since 95.
Yeah.
So clearly he's fine.
Yeah, he's
If
fine.
he didn't have to merch out. He didn't have to go merch.
No, like I said, like he got 2,400 newspapers worldwide for 10 years straight. Like
He
he
must
made,
have invested wisely.
I think so too.
Maybe he bought land. Maybe he bought 1,000 acres.
Yeah, maybe. I'm But yeah, I love Bill Watterson and his work. There's so many awesome memories with Calvin and Hobbes. I like it inspired me so much. I have him like dancing across my arm as a tattoo.
Holy smokes, you do.
Yeah.
So many. All right, get on the YouTubes. Yeah, that is outstanding. You know what? Of all the tattoos of the world, Calvin and Hobbes might have been something I would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went heavy on the Hobbes, less
So
on the Calvin.
it's from an actual strip in the comics of them
Okay.
dancing to a jukebox.
Yep.
And I got that done when I was in Germany, Munich, Germany. And I had just finished again a long walk. That's like I walked.
That's one of his dorkdoms, you
Yeah,
guys.
it's one of my dorkdoms. Yeah.
He likes to walk.
I do long walks, and so I finished a long walk across France and Spain, and I got that done in Germany to kind of like celebrate my love and adventure the same way that Calvin and Hobbes does.
Okay, we have a different understanding of long walk.
Yeah.
Let us now transition to a walk across France
And Spain.
And Spain.
Yes.
That feels longer than your average walk.
It is definitely the longest walk I've been on. So it's a pilgrimage. They made a movie with Martin Sheen in it, I believe, called The Way.
Okay.
I did this 10 years ago in 2013. It's a pilgrimage across France and Spain called the Camino de Santiago. And it's been a religious pilgrimage since like the 1600s or 600s or something like that. Lots of people do it every year. But
what are we all looking for on this walk?
so some people do it for religious reasons because they go to the bones of Saint James, I believe, in Santiago de Compostela, which is in Spain, in the northwest.
And there's some value in walking to it instead of just taking a.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I did it for like my own spiritual reasons. I love long walks. Like I consider a long walk anything more than probably an hour and a half. Anything
Okay.
like an hour and a half is like it's a walk to me. Like a long walk is at least 10K or more.
Okay.
Yep.
And so essentially you flew to France or you flew to Spain, depending on which side you started.
Yep.
Okay. Where did you start in France?
So I flew to Paris and I took a train to the Pyrenees Mountains, which borders France and Spain.
Okay.
To a little
You walked over the Pyrenees?
Yeah. That was the first part of my
That's insane.
Yeah, that was the first like 4 days of my walk across France and Spain, were through the Pyrenees Mountains. Yeah. So you start in a place
4 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
So you started in a place called Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. It's about a 26 kilometer, I don't know the conversion to mile.
It's about 13 or 14 miles, I think. I go about half and then I add a couple of miles. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, about 26 kilometers till the border of Spain. And then you walk to an old, like super, super, super old monastery in the Roncesvalles. And then you walk pretty much west all the way to the west coast, to the most western point of Spain in Finisterre.
You get over the mountains and then you head for the ocean.
Yeah. And so you're going through, I think, 4, maybe 5 different provinces in Spain. You go through a bunch of different cities, like Burgos, Lyon. And so you walk for around 22K. Like I averaged around 20 to 22K a day, I think it was.
How many days?
35 days.
And do you walk every day or do you take a break? Like, can you take a day off?
You could take a day off. I walked, I think I only took maybe 2 days off. And that's because I had a foot thing that happened about like halfway through my trip.
Shocking no one.
Yeah.
A foot thing happened.
Yeah.
Did you bring extra shoes?
Yeah, so I bought it. I did.
What time of year is this?
So I flew out April 1st. And
you were a fool. April Fool's Day. No, I'm kidding. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I got it. Good joke.
I'm constantly writing. Will Nash, constantly writing. Yes.
So it was like springtime in Spain. So I went at the perfect time because Spain can get very hot, especially in the interior of Spain. Like, I mean, you're walking for hours. Like, these are long days.
Long
And
days. And when you went over the mountain, was there snow still?
yeah, like I experienced all four seasons within, I think, 12 hours at one point.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it took you 4 days to get over the mountains.
Yeah, over the mountains. And then you kind of
Okay.
get into like a plains for like about a week and a half. And then you
Whew.
get into like a more of a mountain range through, and then yeah, like I went through like a lot of vineyards and very small, super small, like Spanish towns. I found like little hobbit holes and stuff. Like,
Nice.
yeah,
That's amazing. How do you pack for that?
you pack very lightly.
And then
Um,
then you just buy stuff on
yeah,
the way?
you're buying on the way. Yeah.
So they know. So this is a prescribed route. Like this is the
Yes.
pilgrimage route.
Yes.
So there's obviously merchants who are
Yes.
there to help you when
Mhm.
you break a shoelace.
Yeah, so when you get into Saint Jean, you have to go to the Pilgrim Passport office,
Okay.
where you register that you're gonna walk across, that you're gonna do this religious and walk across France and Spain, so that because people die on it, like it's a
Right, they get lost. They
yeah, and
die.
I've gotten lost. I
Oh
got
my
lost on
gosh.
it.
Oh,
Like, it was a crazy experience. So
did
yeah,
you
like
meet people?
oh yeah, I met people that I'm still friends with this to this day because you walk with people for hours, for days, for weeks, and all of a sudden this
Right.
month and a half goes by and
Right.
you become a family.
Yeah.
Uh, so the reason why I was in Germany was because I met somebody 2 days, 3 days into my walk, still getting through the Pyrenees Mountains, named this guy named Tim, and him and I pretty much walked almost the whole way together. Like we became best friends, and I
Yeah.
ended up living in Germany with him for like a couple weeks after, which was awesome. So yeah, you need to
Has he
walk.
come to Toronto to hang out with
Yeah,
you and visit?
we
That
we actually I lived in Vancouver for like 4 years, like about 5 years ago, and
okay.
he came to Vancouver. We hung out a bunch, which was awesome. So
That's neat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome.
Um, wow. Okay, so you you pack light.
Yeah.
So mostly it's just like a water bottle, a backpack, a couple changes of clothes, and an extra pair of shoes, I
Extra
assume.
pairs. Yeah, so I brought well it's and for me too, this will go into my third dorkdom. I brought a skateboard with me as well.
I was gonna say that is one of your dorkdoms. That sounds like a cheat,
Yeah.
unless it's all cobblestony and then you can't skate anyway.
No, I couldn't skate most of it, to be honest with you. I carried this fucking skateboard around with me for 800 some odd
It
kilometers.
just became just a sort of a reminder of what you couldn't do, and
Yep.
everyone going, "Ha, he brought a skateboard."
Yeah.
And
I got laughed at a lot for it. It's like, why are you trekking through mountains with this? I'm like, because when I get to a city, I'm gonna want to skate there. And so I
yeah,
bring an extra pair of shoes. So like what was in my bag was I'd have like I guess a bit like a water bottle. There'd be three sets of clothes, and then I'd like one of those sets would be nice going out clothes. And then
oh,
I'd have
yeah, for a dinner.
yeah, for dinners and stuff like that. And then I'd switch between two outfits for walking.
Yeah.
And I'd have my pair of skate shoes, my boots, walking sticks, which were very needed. You need those if you're going to walk across the Camino because it takes such a toll on your shoulders, all of that
Okay.
weight on your back that you need to kind of have something to like push your body through some of it. So
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So no shame. No shame having a couple of walking sticks.
No, no shame at all. I was 19 years old when I did it, and I
Yep.
had walking sticks the whole way. There's people. I met somebody that was 82 from Japan who was walking across it. They had been like
What?
3 months into it by the time I came up to them.
Oh, they were
Like,
going much slower.
yeah, much slower. They're probably
Yeah.
doing like maybe like 3 or 4 kilometers, like a town a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that seems like probably more doable for this one.
Yeah.
And so you'd get to a town and then you'd get to kind of see that town a little bit, even though
Yeah.
if you're cruising, like if you're going 20 kilometers a day,
Yeah.
you just kind of want to find a place to sleep,
Yeah.
right?
Eventually you just want to find a place to sleep. Like there was days where you'd be
You
like,
didn't really see the
yeah,
town, or
yeah, you didn't really see the town. You'd be 15 kilometers into like a trip, and you're looking at your guidebook, and it's saying that there's still 8 more K to go to like the town that you want to be at. So like you're just trying to like trudge through it at some points. Like I
so
just yeah, headphones on, put your head down, and just
headphones. that that actually is a bit. It feels 19 though.
yeah,
It's because I'll tell you something. I think I was 21 when I went to Europe, and I didn't bring a Let's Go or any kind of book.
oh
And I
yeah,
just got on. I had one of those train passes, and
right.
so I just went to Florence, and I was like,
Okay.
and I got off the train at Florence, and there were barkers like other people going, "You
Mhm.
looking for a youth hostel?" And I was like, "I am looking for a youth hostel." And I went to the youth hostel, and then I was like, "Well, what is there to see in I've never even heard of Florence." And everyone was like, "Well, we're going to go see the David." And I was like, "What is that?" And they're like, "It's a very, very famous statue, Jackie." And I was like, "No, I'll
Yeah.
go."
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I was like, so I went, I was like, I wanted to go to Rome, and I wanted to go to Naples because I had read
Right.
a
Yeah.
book about the mob, and
Okay.
I never made it to Naples,
No,
but I
you
did
didn't
go
go
to
so far?
Greece.
Oh,
I
that's
ended up just,
cool.
yeah, that was neat. And I ended up going to Delphi and Athens,
Oh,
and
that's
then
awesome.
we took a train. It was back when Yugoslavia existed.
Right.
Now it's like Bosnia and
Yeah.
all a bunch of different.
Yeah. All that stuff
Yeah,
going on over there. Yeah.
yeah. Many things were happening, and so that it was pre that war, Serbia, and but yeah, there's something about being 21 and not having any plan. And
No.
I had a Walkman because it was,
Right.
of course, 1989, and I was listening to the soundtrack of a very mediocre movie that I thoroughly loved, and it was all Zydeco music from New Orleans. And I was in Yugoslavia, I was in Greece or Yugoslavia, and some guy was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "It's a Walkman." And he was like, "I've heard of them. Can I
I've never
see it?"
seen
And I
it.
was like, "Please don't steal it." Yes. And then he listened to it, and he was like, "What's this?" And I gave him
Oh, you
the
gave him
tape.
the nice. Oh,
I
that's
didn't
nice.
give him the Walkman. I
Right.
couldn't do
Yeah,
it
I couldn't give the
because,
Guacamole.
and I
Yeah.
had like, I think I had a Paul Simon. I only had like 4 tapes,
Right.
cassettes.
Because I mean, that's what you had back
It was
then.
a finite number of space in my backpack.
That's it. So you're like, do I want this one or
Right. Will I give you the Paul Simon? It was I think it was Graceland, and so. But what were you listening to?
So when I actually went out, I didn't like that was a pretty ballsy move. What I did, I didn't bring a cell phone or anything like that. What I brought was a couple disposable cameras.
Okay,
And so because I was like,
2013, man.
2013 cell phones were iPhones were still huge, like, but I just like I wanted to like experience, like, live it, I didn't want to be
Hmm.
on my phone, I didn't want to do anything. But like 15 days in, I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I can't be without any
Yeah,
communication with loved
without any
ones. Yeah,
communication. So because I'd be like, calling my mom from like a random like farm town, hoping that she'd answer because the time difference. And
yeah.
there was no planning at all. Like my plane ticket was a one way. I just bought a one way to Paris and then just
Wow.
decided to whenever my trip ended is when it ended.
Right, and then it was going to end, and then how were you gonna work to get money to go home, or were you just going to send
I
send for
had like
money?
I had a little like a different savings account with enough for a plane
Oh,
ticket.
you had money for both trips, but you
For
didn't
both
know what it was
trips,
going to
but I
be.
didn't know when it was going to be. So I put aside like, I think it was like 700 euro or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And I was just like, okay, that's my,
Don't touch it because
don't
that's you
touch it.
getting home.
That's
Yeah.
you getting home. Yeah. So, yeah. And then, so what did I do? I did France, Spain, I did the Netherlands. I went to Amsterdam for a while.
Really, did you go to the saddest attic in the world, or did you just go get high?
I just went and got high.
Oh, there you go. That'll happen.
Yeah,
It's the Van Gogh Museum.
yeah.
The Van Gogh
No,
Museum.
I didn't go to the museum. I
Did you
was
walk by the brothels? I don't need
I
to know if you
did.
went.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't go, but I did
But
walk
you
by.
and go,
Yeah.
look, there's
Yeah.
ladies.
I could, because when I flew in, it was like 7 in the morning. So my hostel that I booked was literally right in the red light district
Yeah,
without any knowledge. So
sure.
like when I went out for dinner that night. All of a sudden, I walked down the street and there's just all the ladies.
Yeah. Why would the hostel be anywhere else? They're like,
Right.
no, put it right
Yeah.
in the middle of marijuana and
Here's the weed shop.
legalized sex. Yes.
Here's the legalized sex, and this is where you're gonna sleep. And sorry to say anything.
Right. And you're like, you probably didn't even know there was a Van Gogh museum. So
No,
you were 19.
I was 19.
So,
I mean, I went to Barcelona after my walk because I spent 45 days in Spain. So I took a break, and this will go actually into a perfect transition to my final dorkdom. I saw the X Games in Barcelona. They
love
have
the X Games,
I
man.
love the X Games too. Holy
They're
shit.
and back in 2013 was back when it was so early.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like, you're like, how are they doing these things? It felt like a video game come to life.
Honestly, like a Tony Hawk game come to life. It was
right.
Phenomenal to like be and sit and like watch a street league championship game and see all my favorite skaters in the world
just catch all this air.
Yeah, catch all this air. Like it was unreal. And so that's why I brought my skateboard, because Barcelona is the skate capital of the world.
Is
it? There's
at the time.
Well, I mean, even still, really to this day, there are so many famous skateboard spots in that city. Like it's built for skaters. It's the weather is beautiful. The way the city's laid out is awesome. There's so many cool spots there. So many famous skaters go there for their video parts. I met so many cool skaters like being out there. So yeah, like when I went to Spain, I was like, I know that after this trip, like after this walk, I'm gonna take like a 10-day vacation, and that's gonna be in Barcelona. And it just happened to be that the X Games were there. I didn't even know. I had no idea.
Right. No. Why? How could you? You would have had to check.
I was
you didn't have the internet. Yeah. You're just like, I just want to go somewhere else. And that was what I did.
Yeah, I just skate around the city, and then all of a sudden I saw like an X Games 10, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go check that out. And then they're selling tickets to the game, to
some of the I don't know what they would be called, like contests. They are, but I can't remember the real word.
Competitions. Competition. Yeah, is the word for it. Yeah.
And right. So do you do so you skateboard?
Yes, I skateboard.
And do you do street or do you do the half pipe?
So I do a mix of both.
Okay.
You
can drop in.
I can drop in. I can skate half pipes. I can air out of bowls, which is really huge. Fun. I can kick flip. I can do like sets and stuff like that. Like growing up, like a lot of my friends were skaters, so we kind of we skate wherever we could. Really, there wasn't like a skate park near us, so it was mostly street skating until one of us decided to build a half pipe or something like that.
Right. You would have someuld have to care enough. Yeah.
I mean, I did. I built one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
where'd you put it?
In my driveway.
Oh, the driveway, and then you had to put it together and
put it together, and then my mom would come home. She'd fucking be beeping, trying to like.
It's like you gotta break it down. Break it down.
I gotta move it. Yeah.
Did you ever see a documentary called Dogtown and Z Boys?
Yes, I have. I am a huge fan of the '70s skaters: Jay Adams, Tony Alva, Stacy Peralta. Those guys like made skateboarding what it is today.
Was always fascinating, because I didn't see the movie they made about the documentary, because the documentary was so cool.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need to see the reenactment of the thing that I saw the real thing of.
So I think it's Dogtown. Lords of Dogtown is the movie.
That's it.
With like Heath Ledger. There's a few other dudes.
It was with Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger. Yeah, he was cast. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the Zephyr team like owner, and like he ran like the team. So he was kind of like their like guru guy, and he got them all like started pretty much. And
you know what? I bet you the movie would show why all of these, and they were pretty poor, these kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very
I mean, it felt like a really LA kind of thing for them to be broke, but someone had a camera.
Yeah, someone had a camera.
It's like it felt like a movie, like a weird LA kind of thing, where it's like, well, yeah, no, we don't have any money, but no, we have film. What do you want to do? You want to shoot something?
We're poor, but we're first world poor, you know?
Monumentally so. Yeah. And but I did love them just going, it was a big drought, and so people weren't filling their
breaking into their backyards to skate their pools. They
Right.
when the urethane wheel got invented, it changed skateboarding completely because a lot of the wheels were from rollerblades. They were like clay.
Right. Those
It,
old four
yeah,
four
the,
four roller
yeah,
skate ones.
yeah, roller skate ones, and they put those on a plank, and they were sidewalk surfers. So it wasn't until like those guys really started shaping how skateboarding came to be with the new technology, putting like a tail on it, a little bit of a concave, wider trucks so that you could carve more.
Right,
Um,
right. It's I mean it pulled them out of the water because
yeah,
I remember in that movie is that they were like, well, you can't surf all day.
yeah.
You can only surf in the morning and at night,
What
or
do you
the
do with your
what
day?
do you do
Yeah,
during the day when
yeah.
you don't want to do your homework? You can you clearly you get a plank and you
You
put
get a
some
plank,
roller
put
skates
some
on it.
roller skates on it, and start carving the streets of LA.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did like that. I've always wanted to learn. My husband Andy tells me that I might have missed that window
You know
because
what, Jackie? There's no. Okay, I'm gonna say this now because you can learn a new skill at any age.
it's true, but I would have to be just packed in bubble wrap because
Oh, that's yeah. You
I
have to.
fall
I
down
know
now.
you have to be. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
too. I have really good balance, but I'm still such a fucking klutz. So,
Speaking of travel,
yep.
I was in Hong Kong
Oh,
doing
okay.
stand-up comedy, very glamorous.
Nice.
And in the subway station, in the tube, you take the escalator down and you take it up, and there's a recurring all the time, uh, first in English or first in Chinese, and then in English, and then in Chinese, and then in English, over and over again. And it is one sentence, and it is, do not only look at your mobile device.
Yeah.
Not even kidding. And so I realized because I've fallen down like 3 times in the last 5 weeks.
Just phone out, not really
Every
watching where you're going.
and it finally occurred to me every time I was
Yeah.
walking the dogs looking at my phone and we hit an uneven piece of pavement,
Yeah. And that's it.
took a
Just
header,
right to the
down and gone.
oh
So
man.
very
So
sad.
if I could suggest, if you did want to learn how to skateboard, so the great thing about skateboarding is that like there's a lot of different sizes and variations to skateboards, right?
Okay.
So your regular skateboard is usually around 8 inches wide. I think it's like 34 with 35 inches long. I can't exactly remember the exact measurements, but there's things like cruisers where they have a much wider base, and it's so you have more room to find your center of gravity, or a
Okay.
longboard, which is even longer. They go a
Oh
few
yeah,
feet
yeah.
long. It's closer to the ground, so you're closer to the
Right.
uh,
It's
yeah,
more of a sidewalk surfing
yeah,
kind of
more like
cinch.
a sidewalk surfing thing. So when people are like, I want to get into skateboarding, but I wouldn't even know where to start, like what kind of equipment would I get? I always suggest getting a skateboard that's like a hybrid. So it's like a hybrid between a longboard and a skateboard, which is like a cruiser. So
Okay.
it has the feel and kind of look of a skateboard, but it gives you that surface area on the board that you want that a longboard has to offer.
Right. So that it's not
Usually
quite as tippy or
so
something.
it's not quite as tippy. Usually it has bigger wheels
Hmm.
because skateboards have small, hard wheels where longboards have those really big, soft urethane wheels. They're better for gripping.
Yeah.
Skateboard, it's a very like it's hard, like a harder urethane, so it slides a lot more. So that depends on what kind of skateboarding you want to do. But if you did want to get into it, there's plenty of classes everywhere. I'm sure California has a ton. And
Right, right. I'm sure someone's teaching something.
if someone's teaching
It'd be
someone,
funny if they were teaching. There's like, well, what if I were a middle-aged lady and I wanted to try skateboarding? Is there a class? Yes. Do you
yes,
have
yes,
money?
yes.
And
And there, yeah.
it's
And
like
then
those they
yeah.
put those bumpers on like when you learn to bowl.
Yeah, when you learn
Uh,
bowl, or like when you're learning how to ice skate. I mean, this might be real Canadian, but when you're learning how to ice skate, you got the little chair there holding on to, and
oh
you got
yeah, yeah. Remember
yeah,
the two blades?
yeah, the
The
two
first
blades.
pair?
Yeah, so
The
you could,
first pair of skates you get,
yeah,
and so you got two blades, and then you're
yeah.
down to one.
And then you're down to one, and you got to get them ankles.
Oh, you
Right.
better
Yeah,
get that. You better
yeah,
learn how to balance.
yeah,
And oh man, I never skated enough to know But I remember my friend Elizabeth Decker in college. I once went ice skating with her, and we were just talking, and she started skating backwards while we talked, and I was like, that is the coolest, sexiest thing in the whole wide world to be able to skate backwards.
Oh, yeah.
And you can flirt, you can just
Yeah,
kind
you
of
can
zoom
flirt.
up, and you're just like,
The
hey,
music's going on,
there's
right?
Billy. Hey, Billy,
Yeah.
how's it going? As I fade into the.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you just hit a 4-year-old and trip and fall. I've done that. Trying to impress
Right.
my girlfriend, and I hit my son on the ice.
Oh, I am so sorry to hear that. So,
I'm just
by the
joking.
way, I am talking with Will Nash, a Canadian comic from Toronto. It's Willie XX. No? Yeah,
Yes,
at
Willie
Willie.
Sock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wait, SOXX. There we go.
SOXX.
Yeah,
Yes.
don't just not XX like you're some sort of.
Yeah. Some sort of, yeah. No, I
He's
don't do that.
dirty.
Yeah,
No, he is. He's perfectly fine. It's at WILLYSOXX on the Twitter and at the real Will Nash with the gravitas that is just Will
Yep.
on Instagram and the TikTok.
That is
So, are you doing this? Will go up probably end of January.
Awesome.
And where can people see you doing stand up?
So I've kind of taken a
Got
bit
a
of a
podcast? Yeah.
I'm actually I've made an album, like a stand-up album. It was the
Yeah.
first like 3 years, 2, 3 years of my stand-up. It was right before COVID kind of shut the whole world down. And I knew that I wanted just like to record something because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it again. So
Right.
I kind of got all my friends together through a big, like, I booked a venue. And so I made like a 20-minute little EP album. It's called The Inconsequential Seminal by Will Nash. It's on Spotify. You can go check that out too.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. So I do stand up like in, around like the outskirts of Toronto,
Mhm.
like more of the northern cities, so like Barrie, Newmarket, Aurora. I try to go down to Toronto as much as I can, but I got a 3-year-old now, so it's really hard to kind of get
Oh,
to
that
sleep.
it. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
like
and and do you live outside of Toronto in one of
yeah.
those
So I'm
towns?
I'm outside Toronto. I don't know, like 30 minutes north of Toronto. So
Okay.
it's not that far at all. But
Right.
yeah, next time I'm doing stand up is in Barrie in February. So
Okay. So
yeah,
is there a willnash.com?
no, there's a Will Nash comedy Facebook page.
Okay.
Check that
And you
out.
can find your stuff on Twitter and Instagram. I
Yeah,
mean,
Twitter,
I mean,
Instagram. I mean, Instagram mostly is what I post on. I do a
makes
lot of
sense.
like the stories and stuff like that. Twitter's a hellhole now. I try not to go on it too
Oh,
much
it is.
anymore.
It's brutal. It's genuinely
It's
gross.
genuinely really bad.
Yeah, I was like,
So
why would you ruin something that wasn't that great to begin with? But I was somehow addicted to it.
yeah,
And
that's
I didn't know what we had. We didn't know what we had
no until
when Jack didn't care about any number of things. And now
no,
Elon cares about too much and it's all foul. Yeah,
it's just a
it's
dumpster fire at this
it's a
point.
dumpster fire. You're just like, boo. Uh,
Ooh,
so, all right. And then the last thing on your list, and you sent me this guy. He kind of looks like you.
a little bit. I'm actually wearing his merch right now.
That's it's a young hipster hip hop young
Yeah,
white guy who
this-
clearly overdosed accidentally
yep.
in the fentanyl craze
Yeah.
of cocaine with fentanyl, which is a terrible idea.
It's
Just gonna let's put it out there, folks.
yeah.
If you're thinking about doing drugs, think again.
Yeah.
Yeah, be safe. Yes. Yeah, know your source.
Yeah.
Try not
I
to.
mean, if you're gonna do drugs, just be safe. I don't do drugs, of course, but if you are gonna do them, be safe. Let's try
Right.
to.
Try to.
Yeah.
I don't know how you know where your drugs are coming from, but I get it. I was drunk for decades, so I
Yep.
get it. And so I
This
would
fine
take
gentleman's name is Mac Miller.
Mac MacMiller.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes.
Okay,
Mac-
and did he go out with Ariana
yes,
Grande?
Ariana Grande. They dated for 2 years in 2000, I think it's 15 to 17. I
Mhm,
believe
mhm.
that was when their relationship was, and then she dated Pete Davidson right after. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, just that guy from SNL.
Yeah, the guy
There's
from
too many
SNL.
famous people, Will Nash. There's
Way
too many famous
people.
people.
I'm not one of them. It's fine.
Me neither. It's I'm
Keep it
well
fun.
kept secret in I'm very, very well known in the industry. It's outside the industry that everyone's like,
Right.
why have I never heard of you? And I was like, I haven't heard of you. There's 8 billion people on the planet. But so you sent me one of his songs. It was called Stay.
Yep.
And it was sort of hip hop and it was
Yeah, hip hop. There's like a bit of like a jazz feel to that song. Lots of
Yeah, it had a trumpet.
trumpets.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was really fun. The music video is him just like dancing on a beach, just like rapping and stuff like that. Mac Miller he's a Pittsburgh comedian. Sorry, not comedian. He's a Pittsburgh rapper.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
He he started in around 2007, just like in high school making like mixtapes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then he started gaining a lot of popularity around like 2009. Um, and then he started working with a huge hip hop artist named Wiz Khalifa. So they both kind of came up together in Pittsburgh in like the
Okay.
in the early 2010s, like
Right.
late 2000s. Um, and so he got signed, I think, in 2010 or 11 by Rostrum Records, which was like an independent Pittsburgh label, where he produced his first three studio albums, I believe.
Oh
Um,
wow. So
yeah,
studio hip hop.
yeah, studio hip hop. He's like he was huge. He worked with so many different hip hop artists and also just like different artists in general. Like he worked with a lot of like jazz musicians, worked like he's a pianist, like he is a musician. So it's not
Okay.
just a rapper. Like he grew up playing music. He
So
wrote
and he ended up knowing a bunch of like the studio guys and
yeah, and he
okay,
knew a lot
yeah.
of the studio guys and stuff like that. So yeah, he his first three albums, I believe, were through Rostrum, and then he got signed in 2015 by Warner Brothers, by Warner
Okay.
Music. And then he produced his last four albums with them, which
Four
was
albums in three
yeah.
years?
And so he his whole entire discography. Sorry, I have it written down because
Right,
I'm a
because
nerd.
he died in 2018.
2018. So he was 26 years old when he died. He had six studio albums, 13 mixtapes, two live albums, and 63 music videos.
Wow. That guy was very, very prolific for a dude who took, well, he did take cocaine.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of energy. But I will say
Yeah.
this is so with his, so he's writing the lyrics and is he also DJing?
Yeah, he's producing.
Okay.
So he has like a couple different aliases. Like his producer name was Larry Fisherman. He produced, yeah.
Okay.
That's yeah, I know it's a weird
Good for
producer.
him.
Yeah, good for him. And like yeah, he did a bunch of different stuff. He had like a couple of different alter egos and stuff like that. But a lot of his uh older music up until around like 2013, 14 was very drug heavy. But it's really sad and unfortunate. The reason why I love him so much is because he was
Yeah.
really coming out of that drug problem that he was having. And when he overdosed, it was because somebody sold him fake drugs. It
Hmm.
wasn't like it wasn't him just doing fentanyl. It was
No,
some
no. It
yeah,
was laced and
it was
it
laced,
was
and
essentially poisoned.
yeah, poison and it poisoned him. So he was on like his sober coach found him that morning, which
Hmm.
was really unfortunate.
The fact that there's something called a sober coach in LA
Right.
is proof positive that will create any job.
Great,
So,
exactly. There's yeah. She was kind of like his manager too, but more so like they
yeah.
he was trying to like clean up after the breakup with Ariana Grande. It really took a heavy toll on him. So
Yeah, I read something when you sent me that. I was like, I guess he relapsed after they broke up,
yeah,
and then he was
absolutely
trying to get back.
he's
He was
trying
trying
to
to get
get back
sober
to
again. Yeah.
yeah, trying to get sober again. And so when he released his final album, Swimming, which was released about a month before he died, it was like you listen to some of his music back and there's a lot of times where he kind of like talks about his own death with drugs and stuff like that. So he was very like it was like a prophet with how it kind of happened.
Self-aware of
Yeah,
his own
self-aware.
problems. I would think,
Yeah,
yeah, if he's that prolific, you gotta pull from life
yeah,
for
that's it,
sure with the
right?
lyrics. Are the lyrics what's your favorite album or your favorite track?
Oh my, so
You sent
there's
me a list
yeah, I
actually.
sent you a list. I think there were 2009, which is a beautiful, beautiful composed song. There's a like this amazing intro that's like a bunch of strings and like this harmonious thing where like it sounds like you're ascending to heaven kind of.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's about like him getting back on track. And that's from his album Swimming, which was his final studio album. They
Yeah,
released
yeah.
one more posthumously or post like
Posthumously.
yeah,
But
post.
that's fine.
Yeah, I always read it. I don't really pay
Right,
attention.
right, because you're
Yeah,
seeing the word in your
I'm
mind and
seeing
you're
the
like,
word in
I
my
think it's
mind. Yeah,
posthum. No,
no,
doesn't
that's not
matter.
it.
You
Yeah,
kidding? I
yeah,
said scene
possible.
for
Yeah,
decades. It's
yeah.
Sean. Anyway,
So
go ahead.
And so that was like a companion album. It was like they had a lot. Every one of his albums has like a theme to it. So the Divine Feminine was about love. Swimming was that's like there's two albums. It's Swimming and then Circles, and it was finding the balance, the yin and yang between the good and the bad. And one was like a heavy hip hop. This Circles was more of like a sing songy. He was exploring more. He was singing. He was using his voice in a lot of
That's
different
neat.
ways than what he normally would, which is really beautiful. um and then yeah, like some of his other ones, like Blue Slide Park is like him coming up and making it. Like the theme is like, I finally made it. There's watching movies with the sound off, which is kind of the descent into the darkness, into the drugs, which goes into
Right.
Faces, which is a full-blown, he doesn't remember making that album at all.
Wow. Right. But he also has a lot of albums.
Yes,
So
he does.
there's a couple that he could have made when he was
Yeah,
junked up, and
yeah.
that's fine. Somebody hit record. Good for you. And
Yeah. So it's he's definitely one of my favorite artists for sure. He was more than just like a hip hop guy. He definitely was a musician. He played a lot of live instruments. A lot of his live albums are him playing instruments, him singing and stuff like that. And yeah, he's just like phenomenal. So
yeah, so he's just he was had a lot of different, and just cut tragically short,
Yeah,
but
short,
left
yeah.
a hell of a body of work. So
Yeah, which is unreal. And there's his state said there's something of like over like 1,000 unreleased like songs, and he has like 4 albums that he just didn't decide to drop. Like he did one
Right.
with Pharrell called Pink Slime that just never dropped. Still like a few others with a couple different artists. So
Wow. Okay. Well,
he's a
so we'll
big,
be
busy
seeing.
body. He loved working and he loved music, and
Yeah.
I love that stuff too. So I definitely relate to him on that sense for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
Will Nash, it's been an hour. Just
It
so you
has
know.
been, yeah.
Yes. We took a journey through your life, I think, from when you were a child until
Yeah, it's
just moments ago.
right.
And
Those are my dorkdoms. It's kind of the way it is, right?
yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's
Yeah.
that's the journey we take here on the Dork Forest.
That's
So
right.
everybody, it's at the Will Nash on Instagram and TikTok, and Willie Socks on Twitter. Go and see him do stand up. Follow him around on the internet. Thank you so much for doing the show, Will.
Jackie, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
And Rangers, you know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat, my hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?